Hello everyone, it's Helen here from Funics again, and Mr Wolf is here, but I'm afraid he's being very silly at the moment. What is the matter, Mr Wolf?
I read your story this week.
Oh, I see. I think I can guess what's making you laugh then. Let's see if everyone else can work it out too. I think you should go and sit somewhere where your giggling can't interrupt the story, Mr Wolf.
I'll just be over here.
See you later. Are you all sitting comfortably? Then let's have a story. Once upon a time, many long years ago, there was an emperor who ruled over a faraway kingdom. Now, I am sad to say that this emperor was neither wise nor just. If the emperor had been a proper emperor, he would have done things like make good laws, open new schools and hospitals, and make sure that all the people had enough food. But in fact, the only thing he ever wanted to do was buy new clothes and parade around the great city, showing his finery to all the people who lived there. The people were very proud of how well dressed their emperor was. They would point to his beautiful waistcoat and admire the embroidery. They would stare at his silk trousers and marvel at the beautiful colours. His shirts and cloaks would dazzle people with their design, and his well-dressed fame spread far and wide. But the people sighed in despair at how hopeless he was at looking after the kingdom. And then, one sunny day in June, the trumpets rang out as a procession was seen approaching the castle gates with great pomp. There were brightly coloured carts, piled high with rolls of fabric, intriguing little silver boxes full of buttons and flowers and all kinds of beautiful embroidery threads. At the back of the procession was the most ornate cart of all, pulled by two horses with feathers and plumes in their manes, and on this final cart rode two young men. They were dressed in gorgeous finery, which shimmered and shone as they moved, and the people gasped with excitement as they rode past the houses in the street. The young men leapt off the cart as they approached the castle gates. The emperor had seen them approach from his dressing room window and was desperate to know what these amazing-looking men could want. He was sure they would be able to bring him the most amazing new fashion statement from the wide cities of the world out there. He rushed downstairs and threw open his gates, beckoning to welcome them in.
Come in! Come in!
He cried, and hurried to bring them the best chairs and a glass of the finest wine.
I see you are masters of fashion, the emperor began. I think you would love my wardrobes and my rooms of silks and my cupboards designed to keep my collection of shoes clean and tidy. But most of all, I am certain you would love to design me my own new outfit.
The two young weavers, for that's what they were, looked at each other, and they looked back down the street leading up to the emperor's extravagant palace. At the castle gates, they saw the enormous eyes of hungry children who should have been in school playing with their friends. They noticed the falling down houses, and they spotted that they hadn't seen any hospitals on their way through the town. They looked back at each other, and they both nodded silently in agreement. They turned to the emperor and smiled.
Of course we would love to design you an outfit, Your Excellency, they said. Let us show you the fabulous silks from faraway lands which we can offer you.
They took the emperor to the first cart. Inside were rolls and rolls of luxurious fabrics, so many that the emperor could hardly catch his breath for excitement. The next cart had piles of decorations, and the emperor was in his element. The final cart was covered in a sumptuous cloth with sequins and studded with diamonds. The two young designers ignored this final cart and turned to look at the emperor.
Tell us which of the fabrics you would like us to make your outfit from, they said.
The emperor looked from one to the other.
But you haven't shown me the last cart, he grumbled.
That cart is reserved for only the wisest, kindest and cleverest of all rulers. Inside the cart is a very special magical fabric woven by the fairies themselves. It is so wonderful that anyone who is a fool or isn't fit to do their job cannot see the material. It's completely invisible to them.
Well, that's just fine,
replied the Emperor in a proud voice,
because I am definitely no fool, and I am superb at being the best emperor anyone could imagine. Let me see the amazing fabric.
The two weavers looked at each other and smiled a secret smile. Everything was going to plan. With a great flourish, they lifted the decorated cover from the last cart. They both gestured proudly at the empty cart. The Emperor stared and blinked and stared again and blinked twice more. Then, in his most decisive voice ever, he announced, "This is the fabric of emperors. There is nothing like it in all the world. You shall make my new clothes from this material and nothing else." The servants around him peered into the cart. They too stared and blinked and stared again. None of them could see anything, but none of them wanted to admit that they couldn't. That would mean they weren't fit for their job, and no one wanted to lose their job. No one dared look at anyone else. There were lots of oohs and ahs and "isn't it just beautiful?" And everyone agreed that they had never seen colours like those before. The two weavers were set to work immediately and found themselves in a fabulous room in the palace. Everything they could possibly need was provided for them, and they set all their sewing machines and weaving looms and stitching desks and embroidery stations up so that they filled the whole room. After a few days, they called the Emperor for a first fitting of his new clothes. The royal councillors accompanied him. There was a mixture of excitement and nervousness. They were all sure they were wise enough and good enough at their jobs to be able to see the beautiful new clothes. The weavers carefully dressed the Emperor in his new robes. They helped his arm down the armholes and his legs into the trousers and finally arranged the cloak over his shoulders. The Emperor paraded around the room in his finery. Delightedly, he admired the design and the cut and the finish. All his advisers stared at him. None of them could see anything, but none of them dared to admit it. That evening, the Emperor set the date for the following week when there would be a magnificent procession at which he would walk through the streets of his kingdom, showing all the people in the city his amazing new clothes. The ministers were to send out decrees to all the townsfolk, explaining how special and magical the clothes were, and that anyone who could not see their beauty was obviously very unwise and not in the right job. The very next week, the day dawned bright and sunny. It was a gorgeous day for a parade, and the whole kingdom turned out into their streets to celebrate the Emperor's new clothes. The weavers helped the Emperor into his new suit again, all the while telling him how magnificent he looked. He paid them extravagantly with bags of gold and jewels for all their work, and they packed up their workshop. The Emperor came down the stairs of the palace. The entire household had lined the stairs and the walkway down and out to the gate into the town. Outside in the streets, the people were cheering and shouting for their Emperor. As he walked proudly past them, he waved royally, and everyone stared and blinked and stared again. But no one said anything. If anyone admitted he couldn't see the magical fabric, he must be a fool, and he might lose his job. And then, as the Emperor turned a corner, a small boy was standing just to the side. It seems this small boy had missed the memo about the magic clothes, because he took one look at the naked Emperor and started to giggle. His giggle turned to a laugh, and his laugh turned into an exclamation. "The Emperor's got no clothes on! I can see his bottom!" And finally, at long last, the poor people of the town saw their Emperor for the proud and foolish man that he was. And I'm afraid they all joined in with the giggling and then the laughing, and they all started saying, "We can see the Emperor's bottom!" It was not a proud moment for the emperor. Suddenly he realised that he had been a very foolish and unwise ruler, one who had put his own appearance far above his care for the people. He returned to the palace as fast as he could and put some proper clothes on. The 2 weavers were gone, with his gold, but the emperor didn't mind in the end. He realised they'd taught him a very good lesson. What did you think, Mr Wolf?
Yes. I think you should all make sure you've got clothes on before you go outside. Otherwise, everyone will see your bottom.
Thank you, Mr Wolf. It is a funny story, isn't it? Hope you all enjoyed it too. See you soon. Bye.